experiment after the experiment to prove that the human body could become invisible. By that, the two boys they followed his footprint, as well as they thought about that who is this personality without showing his body, the only the footprints, but the muddy prints, impressions that is showing us on the floor. They followed him, but they didn't get it. Means the griffin he didn't catch hold of by these two boys, as well as he hidden himself in the mall to protect from the cold, as well as the food and all this. He get all these things when he woke up that morning. Once again it was able to caught hold by the mall people, because he wore in all the clothes. When he wore in the clothes, he became visible. When he took out the clothes, then he became invisible. Then he once again he hidden himself in the theatrical company, as well as he wore an he made his way invisible upstairs and came out a little later wearing bandages round his forehead, dark glasses, false nose, big bushy side whiskers, and a large hat uh, to escape from there to some other place. So, where he went, just we can learn it today. Why does Mrs. Hall find the scientist eccentric? What curious episode occurs in the study? What other extraordinary things happen at the inn? Eager to get away from crowded London, he took a train to the village of Iping, where he booked 2 rooms at a local inn. When he went out from the theatrical company, then he decided to enter to the village. So that on that time he booked the 2 rooms at the local inn. Inn it means just like a guest house. The arrival of stranger at an inn in winter was in an case an unusual event. The stranger of such uncommon appearance set all tongues wagging. Mrs. Haw, the landlord's wife, made every effort to be friendly, but Griffin had no desire to talk, and told her, "My reason for coming to Iping is a desire for solitude. I do not wish to be disturbed in my work. Besides, an accident has affected my face." When he entered to the local inn, on that time the owner of that inn when he met that lady, automatically by seeing this stranger, maybe that lady, she's scared by his appearance. So he told, "I came here for the sake of to stay myself to be alone." Solitude it means alone. And then wagging, his tongues wagging. Wagging it means set all tongues wagging. It means moving here, talking somewhere. We know about that. The children, when they used to talk with some other persons, if they find out any mischievous things or any mistalk by this children, they used to uh, wagging their tongue, to moving their tongue here and there. The same habit he showed, the griffin showed in front of the landlord's wife. And he told, "I want to be alone. I am not ready to disturb by my work. As well as I met one accident, so it affected my face." Why he told? Why? Because he had worn the bandages around his forehead and a dark glass and a false nose. These are all showed just like the he met one accident. Satisfied that her guest was an eccentric scientist, and in view of the fact that he had paid her in advance, Mrs. Hall was prepared to excuse his strange habits and irritable temper, but The stolen money did not last long, and presently Griffin had to admit that he had no more ready cash. He pretended, however, that he was expecting a check to arrive at any moment. Um, she is not ready to disturb this her guest also. So satisfied that her guest was an eccentric scientist. Eccentric, it means younger scientist. She know about that he was a strange and a younger scientist. Eccentric, it means strange and younger. Okay, and in the view of the fact he had paid her in some money, he had paid himself in advance, as well as he showed uh, to false thing to be true. He pretended enact to be a false thing to be a true. He enacted like that. Yeah, I'm ready to give money when I get the check by someone. He pretended, however, that he was expecting a check to arrive at any moment. But this is the, you know about that, this is the false story which is waved up by or cooked up by this scientist. The scientist, he had stolen some money in that theatrical company, and a shop also. In that shop also, he had stolen some money, and then he escaped from there and he entered to the inn to protect himself. Okay. So he pretended. Maybe his mind is thinking about the where I have to collect the money. Collect means, it means here where I have stole the money. Shortly afterwards, a curious episode occurred. Very early in the morning, a clergyman and his wife were awakened by noises in the study. Creeping downstairs, they heard the chink of money being taken from the clergyman's desk. Later, shortly afterwards, a curious episode occurred. He pretended that I'm expecting the check. When I get the check later, I will give you the remaining amount. He told to the landlord's wife. Okay, and then what is the curious episode it occurred? How this scientist he has already caught hold by some other persons, or how he stolen his money. Very early in the morning. That night he spent in the room, in that inn room, and early in the morning, as usual, his uh, habit to steal. That is early in the morning. Clergyman and his one of the person, the neighbor, who are awakened by the noises. Who has already both they awakened by the noises. That is in the study. Okay, by noises in the study, and then creeping down stairs, they listen the noise. Someone is creeping down stairs, and they heard chink of money being taken from the clergyman's desk. The clergyman's desk, someone he had taken the money. Someone he had taken the money. The chink of money. Chink, it means in Kannada, jhana jhana, of money being taken from the clergyman's desk. They listen the sound of the coins. Okay. Without making any noise and with a poker grasped firmly in his hand, the clergyman flung open the door. Surrender. Without making any noise. And then with a poker grasped firmly. Poker, it means a rod which is made up by the metal rod. This clergyman, when he heard the chunk sound of the money, and then he hold the poker, and without making a single noise, he opened the door and he shouted that, just surrender. Why he told surrender? He knows about that the someone he had stolen the money, so that he shouted, just surrender me. Then his amazement, he realized that the room appeared to be empty. empty. Amazement, surprise. Then he was very surprised because no one was there in that room. He and his wife looked under the desk and behind the curtains, and even up the chimney. There wasn't a sign of anybody. Yet the desk had been opened and the housekeeping money was missing. They kept for housekeeping some money. So, this person, this Griffin, the invisible scientist, he stolen the money without giving any clue. Only the thing, the noise which is made by the coins or the amount or money, we only that noise this couple heard, but they didn't get any proof or any person who had stolen the money. Extraordinary affair, the clergyman kept saying for the rest of the day. The whole day he thought about this stolen money, and he is thinking about that without seeing any person in that room, how the money it's stolen by the person or where the money went. But it was not an extraordinary as the behavior of Mrs. Hall's furniture a little later that morning. It was not an extraordinary as the behavior of Mrs. Hall's furniture a little later morning. Mrs. Hall's furniture was a later morning actually, when she saw all these things. It was not extraordinary. The landlord and his wife were up very early and were surprised to see the scientist's door wide open. Usually, it was shut and locked, and he was furious if anyone entered his room. The opportunity seemed too good to be missed. They peeped round the door, saw nobody, and decided to investigate. The bedclothes were cold, showing that the scientist must have been up for some time. And stranger still, the clothes and the bandages that he always wore were lying about the room. This clergyman and his wife, both they made a both they decided to tell all these things to the street people. The same way they did. Later, the landlord and his wife, they got up early, and they were very surprised because the scientist's room was widely open. It was usually it was shut and locked, and he was furious. He was very angry by seeing that. They thought this person was very angry, so he opened the door. If anyone entered his room, maybe he was very angry about that. Anyone is said to enter my room. But these two persons, landlord and his wife, they peeped around the door. They peeped through the door and they saw nobody and decided to investigate. No one was there. They thought about that this door was widely open, and then maybe the scientist was very angry by listening the sound of this clergyman and his wife. But this landlord and his wife, they used the opportunity to peep down the door, and they saw nobody was there, and they decided to investigate. Nobody was there. How the door was opened? And then when they entered, on that time they saw the bedclothes were cold, showing that the scientists must have been up for some time. When the bedclothes were cold, on that time they analyzed that yes, the scientist he got up early and he went somewhere. As well as they saw the stranger still, the cloths and the bandages that always were lying about the room. Both were cloths and the bandages they have already thrown everywhere in this room. All of a sudden, Mrs. Hall heard a sniff close to her ear. A moment later, the hat on the bedpost leapt up and dashed itself into her face. Mrs. Hall, it means here the landlord's wife. Okay. So the story is related to the Mrs. Hall's furniture a little later that morning. Okay. A morning later, when she all of a sudden when she stood in his room on that time, a sniff close to her ear. Sniff, it means breathing sound. Breathing sound, it close to her ear. A moment later, the hat on the bedpost. Bedpost, it means any of the wooden support for bed. The bed and its support for the wooden most of all the time people are using this wooden uh, support for the sake of the mosquito net. Okay. From there, suddenly the hat, it dashed itself into her face. Then the bedroom chair became alive, as well as the bedroom, this stranger, this scientist chair, it became alive, springing into the air, and it charged straight at her legs foremost. That started to dance. It was ready to dash this lady. As she and her husband turned away in the terror, the extraordinary chair pushed them both out of the room and then appeared to slam and lock the door after them. Extra chairs and the extra furnitures, they extraordinary chair actually, not only the extra but also extraordinary chair, this furniture, it pushed both of them out of the room and then appeared to slam, it means shut with force. It shut with the force a door after when they went out from the room, the door, it was shut with the force. Mrs. Hall almost fell down on the stairs in the hysterics. She was convinced that the room was haunted by spirits and that the stranger had somehow caused these to enter into her furniture. Hysterics, it means a widely exaggerated emotion. Widely and exaggerated emotions. Okay, Mrs. Hall, this landlord's wife, she was completely in a historic way, and she fell down the stairs. She was convinced that the room was haunted by the spirits. Without seeing the person, without presenting of any person, or without presence of any person, uh, the chair, it started to move itself, and the hat, it started to move itself and to uh, give one kick to the face of this landlord's wife, it means Mrs. Hall. And then the extraordinary chair, the chair which has given the forceful push both of them. On that time, Mrs. Hall, she thought about that maybe the spirit, it entered to this room. No one is there, but the spirit, it entered to ghost, it entered to the room, and that the stranger had somehow caused these to enter into her furniture. She thought, my poor mother used to sit in that chair. She moaned. She moaned, it means cried. My poor mother, she used to sit in that chair. To think it should rise up against me now. See, I've given it for my mother. She used to sit there. But see this. while she was in that chair, nothing was done. But now think about it. It should rise up against me now. That much of emotions was there with me, uh, with that chair. But now the chair is against on me. The feeling among the neighbors was that the trouble was caused by witchcraft. But witchcraft it means some magician by the magic, Babaji. But witchcraft or not, when news of the burglary at the clergyman's home became known, the strange scientist was strongly suspected of having had a hand in it. Suspicion grew even stronger when he suddenly produced some ready cash, though he had admitted not long before that he had no money. Previous night he told that I am expecting the check of some persons, but the next morning he produced some money to this yeah, landlord's wife, as well as the clergyman's uh, house was completely burglary was done by this someone. And that day, that morning, this Mrs. Hall, she had eaten a good kick by this person. It means the magician person, as well as both landlord and his wife, both they pushed out from pushed by the chair from the bedroom to stair, and this lady also fell down. All these incidents which happened when this scientist entered to this village. Both clergyman's family and this landlord's family and other people, they started to suspect on this scientist. The village constable was secretly sent for. Instead of waiting for the constable, Mrs. Hall went to the scientist, who had somehow mysteriously appeared from his empty bedroom. I want to know what you have been doing to my chair upstairs, she demanded. And I want to know how it is you came out of an empty room and how you entered a locked room. The village constable was secretly called by them. And instead of waiting for the constable, Mrs. Hall went to the scientist's room, and she asked, and mysteriously she appeared from his empty room. When this Mrs. Hall and Mr. Hall they entered to that room, on that time the scientist was not there. Once again, when she went into that empty room, she thought that the room was empty. Once I have to check it. When she entered to that room, the scientist was there. Then she asked about that. How you have been doing to my chair upstairs? What you are doing with my chair? And then she demanded that I want to know how you entered this empty room, and you entered a locked room also. They forcefully they closed the room and they locked it. Then she asked about that. How you enter that? I have to know. So that they send the they call the constable also to know which is the magic it's going here. So see here, this is the person Griffin. This is a constable, and these two are the people, those who are in this landlord and his wife. Okay. The scientist was always quick tempered. Now he became furious. You don't understand who or what I am, he shouted. Very well, I will show you. The scientist was always quick tempered. Every time he used to shout, suddenly he get tempered and he used to shout, and he became a furious it means angry. And he told about that, don't you know who am I? I will show who am I. Suddenly he threw off bandages, whiskers, spectacles, and even nose. It took him only a minute to do this. The horrified people in the bar found themselves staring at a headless man. He had worn the bandage and the spectacles, whiskers, and even nose. These are all the props. These props he used. These are all the props used in the theatrical company. He used it because he want to visible for everyone in a different way. So that he removed all the people, those who sat inside the bar. They also horrified. The bar found themselves staring at the headless man. Mr. Jaffers, the constable now arrived and was quite surprised to find that he had to arrest the man without a hat. But Jaffer was not easily prevented from doing his duty. If a magistrate's warrant ordered the person's arrest, then that person had to be arrested, with or without his hat. The police persons, they must have to, either a constable or anyone, they must have get the warrant to arrest the person. So he was very just he surprised to see this person without headless person. There he followed a remarkable scene as the policeman tried to get hold of a man who was becoming more and more invisible as he threw off one garment after another. He is this Jaffer. Jaffer, it means the policeman. And this police person, he was not easily prevented from doing his duty. Mm, he was not ready to wait the warrant of this uh, of the magistrate or any other person's order. Just he wanted to mm, catch hold this person. So he followed the remarkable scene. The policeman tried to get this headless person, but when he start to touch this person, automatically the person, it means the griffin, he used to take out all his garments. Okay, one by one. Finally, a shirt flew into the air, and the constable found and the constable found himself struggling with someone he could not see at all. Okay, so he threw all the things which he wore in the shirt or jacket, the pants, and all these he thought, or later completely he was a invisible person. Some people tried to help him but found themselves hit by blows that seemed to come from nowhere. Without seeing the person, but the persons have the people they used to take some push and some blows and everything. In the end, Jaffers was not unconscious as he made the last attempt to hold on the unseen scientist. At last, the Jaffer wanted to catch hold this person. Automatically, he was also knocked unconscious, and as he made the last attempt to hold on the unseen scientist, there were nervous, excited cries of "Hold him!" But this was easier said than done. Griffin had shaken himself free, and no one knew where to lay hands on him. Every people they shouted on this constable, just go and hold this person, because the person, this scientist, he was invisible, and anytime he is ready to rob anyone's home, as well as any time he is ready to give a blow, so that blow by blow for the hitting and some other things. So that the people are so afraid by this scientist, they support the police to just hold this scientist. But he was easier said. It was really easy to, before doing the work, if we wanted to say anything, that is very easy. When we enter to that field only, we will face the problem. For example, the swimming. When we see the swimmers, we will feel that it's very easy. How the fish is swimming, the same way the people are also ready to swim. But when we enter to that pond, on that time we will feel like that the water is so cold. So now it is very impossible for us to swim. That is the reason to avoid the swimming, because we don't know how to swim properly. That is the difficulties the swimmer faced previously when he was completely within that field, the practice which made the person to be perfect. So the word, this was easier said than done. It was very easy to hold him. The griffin had shaken himself free. He was completely free himself. And no one knew where to lay hands on him. No one knows about that, where we have to hold this person. Every time he was escaped from that place. So the message of this story is, the scientists, they used to identify or the find the formulas for the sake of the society. It should be very useful to the society. It should not be harmful to the society. I hope